Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Harakal Kadash, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Ruah, and Shalom to the brothers and work concerning the truth. Push his word to the four corners. I wanted to, just kind of go over Isaiah 4 and 1, because you had the counteroffensive with Ukraine, where they're meant to be, taking Russian soil, and they're meant to push back into them. And then just with these conflicts, it's as in those raw situations, in the rawness of what's it called, of war, warfare. When you get into it, then women, then that's when things get dicey. Life comes kind of peak. So I read this, Isaiah 4 and 1, and it says, "And in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man, saying, We will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name, to take away our reproach." So, if you deal with the modern age, with the current times we're in, women on clamoring for men, just to be able to the extent where they're just like, look, I'm just gonna provide for myself. I'm gonna make my own food, make my own garments. Just all I need is just your name as a covering. That's not happening in this current time, because the covering they have is really from Esau Edom, and the so-called white man has basically given them a covering. He's liberated them and put them out there, and basically, the prior orders and ways that things have functioned from the ancient world, that can't run anymore. Because why? For those things to run, for those things to function, you can't have things like the police, things like the laws and whatnot that Esau's establishes legislation. He's basically have things run how he desires. So what kind of circumstance would bring about this scripture coming to life is warfare. And then we have there's a few, because it's like you go into war, like situations of war, and then you always hear about women getting laid hold on, let's say, because this is one of the many examples. You can just kind of go to one of the more recent ones, because this is the one that kind of comes up, where you got comfort women on Wikipedia, and it says comfort women were women and girls forced into sexual slavery by the Imperial Japanese Armed Forces in occupied countries and territories before and during World War II. The term comfort woman is a translation of the Japanese Ian Fu, which literally means comforting, consoling woman. During World War II, Japanese troops forced hundreds of thousands of women from Australia, Burma, China, the Netherlands, the Philippines, Japan, Korea, Indonesia, East Timor, New Guinea, and other countries into sexual enslavement for Japanese troops. So this is when it was done. This was done on a huge scale, and this was like World War II, and that's why you have I don't know if they'll touch on it. Probably not. But the rape of Nanking, that happened in China. That's like described as what do you call it? As like a medieval level event. A medieval level event. Where they're saying like, man, we're moving so raw. They thought they were like in the medieval world again, and that's the thing is like, in the real realities of war, those things happen, man. Where violence gets their blood up, or just just barely surviving. Bullet might have whizzed past your head. You might get your arm blown off, and then or injured or something. And it's like you had to fight a guy to the death, and then the adrenaline rush. You got a bunch of chemicals blasting through your body, and then what? For men that gets their blood up, let's say, and then that can be part of why these things happen, and that's why in those times of crisis, it's on top, because as far as for women, currently we live in a time where it's like Hollywood exists, and then because of Hollywood, you've had like vibration put out of like women, average build women, just beating the brakes off huge, jacked men, even average sized men. Because that's the irony as well, is like you could have a woman that's trained to a certain level, then like the average dude of just like average build is still gonna like add power and like grip strength, weight, height, all these kinds of areas, to where it's like to overpower her, that can be done easily, and that's the reality of the dynamic. This is why it's like women aren't able to just maneuver as they desire, especially when all this current system, this present system, where we have all these overarching laws, all these systems that've been set up by Esau, where it's women can be in a workplace, women can be in places of authority, women can tell men what to do. These things are all set up now, and this is in where it's not in that raw warfare state or that raw survival state. When it gets into that survival state, that's when it's going to be peak. That's when it's going to be on top. Because it's on Sky News. It says, what video appears to show IDF soldiers sexually abusing Palestinian detainee. And I ain't going to play the video because whatever they show on there, it's probably just going to get flagged by YouTube. And then it would probably get zapped because any kind of sexual content or whatever, that's what's going to happen. I don't know what the extent to which they're doing. I'll probably watch it after. But these things have been stories have been coming out. Your two of the big wars everyone's talking about. I got examples in both, with down in state of Israel and Palestine. Between those two, that conflict, there's been stories where they're saying initially with the when was it Hamas, yeah, when them guys were coming through, they were grabbing up women and whatnot, and then in the inverse as well, stories have been coming out of prisoners getting lay hold on, let's say. So this one says what an Israeli television channel has broadcast CCTV footage allegedly showing the IDF soldiers sexually abusing a Palestinian detainee. The video showed dozens of prisoners lying face down on the floor with their hands on the back of their heads. Yeah. One of the prisoners is led away to a discreet corner. 3 soldiers then appear to use shields to block the view. Only a meter or so away, a military dog on a lead can be seen barking fiercely at the prisoner. The incident, which is said to have taken place at the SD Taman prison in July, has been severely criticized by the White House as deeply concerning and should be fully investigated. But yeah, with that's the thing. Is these things happen, these things go down, but then it's in a situation where though it's gone beyond that point of like these guys these guys are at war. These guys are in the midst of warfare. People are getting blown up. People are getting their wig pushed back. They're at risk. They're out there in the front line. Bullets whizzing past you, explosions happening and whatnot. Rockets flying. That in the midst of where you get in, it's like that's an environment where it's like shit gets on top. And that's the thing is this is like, as far as the state of war, them being tied to men getting frisky, raping the women up after, that's not something that's brand new. That's something you go to the ancient world, that was one of the things that was done. kill the men and then lay hold on the women. And as even in these modern wars, because I remember it was the same thing with the Iraq War as well. That was one I remember seeing, when I was younger on TV and whatnot. Before you had like the full coverage of the internet. Well, it was kind of coming up, but it wasn't to the same extent now where you can kind of go on Twitter and then just like you're getting pre-smartphone where you'll just have like video footage and just like independent places reporting on any and everything. Now that you do have that, it's on a wild level. That's where it's like, because even this would have been on the TV. You might have had someone report on it. If this was like 2005, you might have had someone report on it, but then it could have also just not really been. If all the main news channels didn't really cover it, it might not even become like a big issue. But then with how information goes out, gets pushed out now, any and everything can just become part of that shit and get pushed out. And it's one of those vibrations that's getting pushed out, man, that these things are happening. Because part of the lie of like a modern society is like, oh, everyone's so developed and refined and everything. But then it's a good example is with the riots over here that you had relatively recently. With those riots, it kind of just showed how easily all that so-called peace, love, multiculturalism, whatever, there's bubbling on the surface. There's been a bunch of displeasure, and as such, people are going to what do you call it? With all that displeasure, like that can boil over as soon as people get given an opportunity to be like, okay, I can get an outlet for that. Fuck it, we're doing it. And that's really what was kind of seen with that. Because there's something where it's like a bunch of BS got pushed out there. It roused people up. Then you would have had people inciting, the top guys, that over a lot of these, right wing organizations, getting people roused up. Then they've been going out there smashing shit up. Because why? Because they're feeling a certain way. It's become clear within their society they haven't really got that that place within it as far as they thought. And these and this is something let these guys go to war. That this will be another way it manifests with women getting laid hold on. Because the same thing with Ukraine, it was the Ukraine-Russia war, because it's been going on for longer. There was even countless examples. And then we're likely going to see now, like I mentioned, you got the counter-offensive going into Russia that's meant to be going on. With that, you're probably going to see more. You'll most likely see more. There's on Sky News again. It says Ukrainian women reveal their rape ordeal and say Russian soldiers must be punished. This is pointing to a grubby grey sofa in the corner of a small room in her neighbour's house. The Ukrainian mother said that was where a teenage Russian soldier raped her. It happened during an evening of terror, cruelty and murder in a rural village outside Kiev. Avika, 42, said she decided to speak about the attack on camera to encourage other rape survivors in Ukraine to talk about what the Russian forces did to them. And yeah, the peak thing for them as well is like a lot of them won't even want to talk because they're thinking like, yo, if these guys take over and we spoke, like they're even more through. And the thing as well is you have how the Russian soldiers refer to the soldiers of not going to regard gold and silver. They're going to be on that rawness because you have a lot of these guys in Russia. They ain't got shit going on, man. I think Russia, like the top cause of death in Russia, I believe for men was alcoholism or alcohol poison. I believe it would be. Let me double check. Because now it might be. Because of the war, it might be Okay, this is 2022. The fuck is that? Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, what the fuck does that word mean? Was it a tumor? Oh, it's fucking tumors. Mad. Okay. So it's alcohol consumption. They're on the highest for. Yeah, alcohol consumption. And suicide, I think, as well. Yeah, and suicide as well. But yeah, life's on top. That shit's the way that man live out there is different as fuck. Which is why it's like, in these circumstances, that raw. It's the same thing with what do you call it, with Japan in World War II, where because of the type of culture they had, that militaristic mindset they had, where they'd like pre World War II, I think from the 1900s onward, early 1900s, they Russia, Japan basically modeled themselves after Germany, like post World War One Germany, like militarization wise. So because of that, that's they're on that militaristic mindset, that what was it, nationalistic mindset, and they'll tapping into like that samurai spirit of saying, where they had that rawness, which is why these men could be in planes doing fucking suicide bombings. They'll fucking them guys are insane. But Russia, the circumstances in Russia have got these guys in a particularly raw state of mind, especially when you deal with soldiers. And then it's like, especially for other countries where it's a lot more lax, a lot more laid back, they're not in that same kind of rawness. And as well, it's like having women in military roles, that's gonna have an impact as well. You have women in there, it's gonna put a whole different kind of vibration in there. And that's what, even though you've had, like, I believe Sweden had mandatory, I did a video on it a while back, they had mandatory military, what the hell is it called, military service. And then women will get in the mix as well. But then it's having women in the mix, that's the reality of how fucked it will be, is when it comes to what do you call it, when it comes to war going down. Because in that, in the state of war, becoming a prisoner of war, etc., these circumstances, where it gets fucked. Because I'll read this, Isaiah 32:2, and it says what? And a man shall be as an hiding place from the wind, and a covert from the tempest, as rivers of water in a dry place, as the shadow of a great rock in a weary land. And yeah, that's why when you deal with those high pressure, volatile, violent situations where we're not in a state like we're in now, where you have a certain amount of law and order, especially in the Western world, like you got basically law and order to an extent where there's punishments tied to doing certain actions in Esau's realm. That's what staves off a lot of people doing what they do. A lot of people, would, if they could, they'll be out here, robbing people, murdering, raping, etc. on a mass scale. If there was no punishment for it. But then a lot of people are they're currently, presently out here just having to keep those things pent up, or maybe just, tweet about online or whatever the fuck. But then, as those moments of crisis hit, you have that time of trouble, time of Jacob's trouble. Then you'll become plain. It will become plain and observable. They're like, yo, it's shit's on top. Shit's getting real, and you're gonna need that covering. You're gonna need that shield. Because as far as for women, it's like, even if you have a gun, it's like you see videos of like female cops where they'll have a gun and the guy might even be restrained, but he can still just overpower her and take her out. It's fuck it. But that's the reality of it. And it's a thing that as soon as it gets into a time of war, what happened in Ukraine, they were letting women and children leave, but then men under the age, I think it was 40 initially, or maybe no, it would have been 40, I think, when it first kicked off, weren't even allowed to leave the country. They had to stay wired to be fighting age men to resist, because otherwise fucked. I'll skip down a bit because what's it say, verse 9. So Isaiah 32:9 says, "Rise up, you women that are at ease, hear my voice, you careless daughters, give ear unto my speech. Many days and years shall ye be troubled, ye careless women." And yeah, the women are at ease, and now is the most supreme point in time in all existence for women at ease. Really, it's a super heroic level of ease that women are at. Because why? Legendary amount of ease. Because that now is a time where a woman will compass a man, where children are oppressors and women rule over us. They've basically been able to put in the position of power to have power over men, which hasn't happened before. And as such, they can have, or even with what's the term called, like contraceptive, with like things like abortion, the pill, condoms, etc. All these things basically allow women to separate themselves from the consequences of having sex, well, to a certain extent, or at least lest they deceive themselves into doing that, which then allows them to just be completely lackadaisical in their approach to life if they so desire. And then that will be supported by Esau, which prior there were any if you're promiscuous, there'll be evident consequences to it that you won't be able to escape. But what does it say? For the vintage shall fail, the gathering shall not come. Tremble, you women that are at ease, be troubled, you careless ones. Strip you and make you bare, and gird sackcloth upon your loins. They shall lament for the teats, for the pleasant fields, for the fruitful vine. Lament for all the beautiful abundance and ease that was had. And that's a thing that's done, generally when a harsh time comes. But it's going to be even more impactful for women, because why? This is, a level of ease and comfort that has, that hasn't been seen on a scale before. Which, they're gonna be lamentating for, because it's gonna get raw and real and medieval as fuck. Which, then what? Isaiah 4:1. That's why you're gonna have women flocking to men, to those really to Israelite men, because why? They're gonna be the ones with that sureness, that stability within those times. And that's going to be essential. Upon the land of my people shall come up thorns and briars, yea, upon all the houses of joy in the joyous city, because the palaces shall be forsaken, the multitude of the city shall be left, the forts and towers shall be for dens forever, and the joy of wild asses a pasture of flocks. And yeah, the land's been, pot and smash various times. The times you can look to is when the Babylonians came through and decimated it, and then when the Romans did it as well, 70 AD, where it's the Lord basically had it open up on Jake, and the land got taken out. And then just as you have now is the so-called modern times, where everyone has like a smartphone and whatnot. There's the internet. This information can get out. Back in the ancient world, it would have been completely raw. Whatever happened down there, a lot of things nobody would have even. Only the angels recording it would have known what went down. Like how fucked up it got. Or the prophets had the vision. Like a lot of that shit would have been immense. And that's a time we're coming into again. Well, a time that's gonna outdo that as well. Which then means what? The men are gonna be clamored for even harder. And then that's the thing is now is a time where women have the preeminence, let's say, within society. So as such, once that once that disappears, many even gonna have, women gonna have to bring something to the table to even get that covering. Because again, it's gonna be an innumerable amount, man. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom, shalom.